Hello there, YouTube. Long time no see. I'm sorry. This spring has brought with it a depression, the likes of which I've never seen actually. So I'm just not fully operational at the moment. Plus, work, the usual. Why am I complaining? Be prepared. Today's video, I'm planning to ramble for a long time. But first, housekeeping. Smoking my Missouri Meerschaum Little Devil Acorn with Kentucky Bird. They have a faithful. I smoked a backwoods cigar earlier this evening, so I'm not in the mood for any strong tobacco. I wanted actually to talk culture with you people, because the big news, in Russia at least, is the confrontation between our government and the creators of Telegram Messenger. You can probably Google it. I don't know if it was on the news abroad, but short story. The Russian government wanted to get full access to all the users of Telegram Messenger, on the grounds of that, terrorists might use it, and they were supposedly using it in the past. And the creator and the head of the company, who's also Russian, although not currently living here, as far as I know, being a brash young man that he is, said that, terrorists might as well use smoke signals, and that the privacy of the clients is more important, and piss off. We won't give you any access, any keys, passwords. And so Russian government is trying to ban Telegram by means of banning IP addresses or clusters of IP addresses, and it doesn't work. Well, at least it's not fully working. The Telegram is still operational out here. So if you want to stick a needle in the buttocks of the Russian government, go download the Telegram Messenger. It's a good messenger, by the way. I won't discuss it here. If you want to post it in the comments, I'll describe this story in more detail. But this story, as usual, made me and all the kids out in the web saying that government is trying to control us and we are heading in the direction of North Korea. And made me think about me growing up in the 90s, because I believe I represent the first generation of Russian people, Soviet people, who came into contact with Western culture, basically, after 50 years of Soviet government trying to cultivate its own culture, including pop culture. But the 90s, where the government control lapsed big time, and no one was sure what's going on and what to do. And the borders were open, so we had suddenly we had an invasion, of Western culture in any shape or form. And me being a kid in front of the TV set, I took a pretty nice, strong hit of it. It wasn't just, the kids, because, we had market economy, suddenly we had commercials, and first commercials were just dubbed Western commercials, Uncle Ben's line of products. I still use their sauce, by the way. Heinz ketchup, bubble gum. All these commercials were just copied and dubbed, and so we got a glimpse of the concept of the commercial, because there was no advertising, private advertising at least, on TV, and just we were shown short glimpses of life out there, because internet was not present at the time. The movies were huge. And nobody knew what to do with them, really. How to separate what the kid should and should not watch, really. I cannot show you that because it's dark outside, but I can see the building of cinema, of a movie theater, out of this window. It's not working right now, unfortunately, because it's just, it doesn't bring any money. It's in the residential area. No one will come here. So it's closed. But that's the place I watched my first proper, film on the big screen. It was a Disney film, The Flight of the Navigator, sort of, sci-fi flick from the 80s. But because no one was controlling, I also saw Space Mutiny in this movie theater, and if you don't know this, it's a crappy South African, late 80s flick with crappy everything, and nudity, and some, I think, amounts of gore, and just not suitable for kids. I also remember a bizarre occasion when I was in school, and my whole class, with teachers, so it was an organized event, we went out and we saw Enemy Mine, 1985 Wolfgang Petersen science fiction film with Dennis Quaid, and it scared the living shit out of me. I remember that vividly. I was genuinely physically sick. I had to leave, so I didn't know what I didn't see through the entire film, because it was just so bizarre, all this, aliens, and just the slime, and I was not ready for that. And I think the pinnacle of going to this cinema for me was seeing the Terminator, the first 1984 James Cameron Terminator on the big screen. I went with my friend, my classmate, his father, and my grandmother, of all the people. So that was intense, all the, again, the blood, the gore, the special effects, that scared me. But all of that was more or less, official. What wasn't official was first, the VHS market. I'll talk about that later. And the so-called cable TV. So-called because it was not a cable TV like the US cable. There were several stations, district TV stations that were broadcasting only within one district. And if the guys on the TV, central channels, understood very little about, censorship or, letting some content through and stopping some other content, guys at the district stations, they just didn't give a flying fuck about what they were putting on air. So there was no programming, no schedule, whichever you'd like to call it, per se. So you couldn't look it up and say what will be on today. You just click through the channels and you stumble upon this station, and it could be anything. I swear to God, for a month or so, they were playing Choplifter and broadcasting it on this district. You remember that, the PC game with a helicopter shooting some jungle and saving people? I think maybe Vietnam War based, I don't know, but I was effectively watching, game playthroughs before it was cool and before YouTube arrived on the scene. But you could switch to this cable network and see anything, from classics. I saw Aliens, Predators, Predator 2, all the 90s action flicks. And for the stay-at-home kid, which I was a stay-at-home kid. I wasn't a street kid, because I was raised by my mother and my grandmother, and they thought it wasn't particularly healthy, and they were right. This neighborhood is pretty okay, but to the north of this neighborhood, different streets and even yards between the city blocks. They had separate nicknames, and kids were going to war, yard against yard, street against street. It was pretty intense at the time. So I was a stay-at-home kid, and I saw many weird things on TV at the time, especially those cable channels. Like I said, you can click the channel. I don't think we have had remotes. You could switch the channel. You will be in the middle of Blade Runner, having no clue what's going on. Or you could see some weird, trash film like Split Second, one of my favorite films. I'll dedicate a separate video to that. or I saw Seed People, and it scared the living shit out of me. It is a crappy, alien invasion film, sci-fi horror. You could switch the channel and see, I don't know, a Roger Corman film. I once saw one of the Deathstalker films. Argentina, I think, made films which are, crappy Conan ripoffs. But for the school kid, swords and nudity. Yay! That was great. They also, I think, aired cartoons. Big channels had, one of the central channels had a weekly, show where they showed Disney cartoons, DuckTales, Chip and Dale, Rescue Rangers, this stuff. But that was boring, Stuff you could see on cable was weird, Of course, they showed the classics, the Looney Tunes, Bugs Bunny, Elmer Fudd, Roadrunner, beep beep, stuff. But once they were showing, what was the name? Shazam, which was part, as far as I know, part of the Super Friends, series with Captain Marvel. So this weird ass, very early superhero cartoons with crappy animation and strange and and music and or they were showing, I think for a week or so, they were showing 1967 Spider-Man series. So I'm a guy basically that knows, of course, all the Soviet animation. That's a separate thing. But at the same time, I know, what was the theme song? Spider-Man, Spider-Man, does whatever a spider can, spins the web any size, catches thieves just like flies, look out, here comes the Spider-Man. I know that. And I can probably go on and sing the entire theme song. Weird stuff. And another channel, it was not a cable, it was a regular channel. They were showing, they had a different, branch. They were showing anime. No direct Japanese imports, but they were showing, anime reworked by the US studios, like Macron 1, Robotech, Voltron, Saber Rider and the Star Sheriff, Sailor Moon, etc., etc. So that was my introduction to anime. I'm not an anime fan per se, but I can appreciate that. And of course, if you were on saw the cable channel, you could see Akira with all the glorious gore. Sorry, I'm gonna have a fix of my Soviet mutagenic slime. Tarhun. Made from estrogen. Well, it tastes like estrogen. It's supposed to taste like estrogen. And sugar. Lots of sugar. And probably the third thing for me was, the VHS boom, which was huge. No, I remember we were, got our first player, VHS player, and our first my first VHS tape or cassette was Home Alone, Home Alone 2, Dennis the Menace, and almost an hour of Tom and Jerry cartoons. I still have it somewhere, although the player has broken already, long ago. So people were usually renting tapes. Crappy quality, crappy translations, you won't believe the quality of the translation. That was, a genre in itself. Columbia Pictures logo appearing and the voicing.
Columbia Pictures представляет.
Columbia Pictures presents. Magnificent. Plus, these tapes usually had leftover space at the end, and people were stuffing anything from porn to anime again to whatever, I still have a cassette, a tape of RoboCop 3, which is another guilty pleasure of mine, and the remainder of the tape is old Popeye the Sailor cartoons. I think from the 60s, 70s, I don't know. Another one had half an episode of Devilman, pretty gory anime. Another one had a full episode of Cyber City Oedo 808 from Madhouse Studios, with beautiful music and swearing galore. I still love this anime, by the way. Yeah, that was a good one for me. And once my mother came home and bought me a gift. A 4-hour VHS tape of Batman the Animated Series by Bruce Timm and Eric Radowski. One of my all-time favorite, animated, milestone of animation for me. Absolutely shaped me, the person I am today. So cutting back to today, all those kids that have all those endless possibilities that are growing in this incredibly overcrowded information space. On the one hand, I pity the kids, because there's, from the moment they are born and they're in front of the TV set, there's a struggle for their attention. There are people trying to sell them stuff, starting from toddlers and up. We didn't have that. It wasn't, developed yet. But on the other hand, all this, this freedom and access to anything. First of all, I think they don't appreciate it, really. Here's me being an old, grumpy adult. But on the other hand, the fact that they have this opportunity and the feeling that they have that they are being deprived of it, them wanting all this, freedom, complete freedom, I think that's the beginning of a truly free society, basically. Because I'm eternally grateful for the boiling 90s, because I know all this stuff. People claim that I know American culture. I do not know American culture, but I absorbed portions of that. Through the old cartoons. I see I know the shape of an old American mailbox, with a small flag. I know the sound that the Roadrunner makes. And because of that, I can then, say to my kids, watch this. Batman the Animated Series. That's great. That's animation, that's action, that's film noir, that's everything. Watch this. You might like this. Try this. And keep searching. Because, sitting in front of the TV and absorbing commercials and thinking what you will buy next, that's a dead end. People keep asking me, why do you know so much weird stuff? Because I'm constantly Googling weird stuff. Because I remember all these old, titles I saw on pseudo cable TV, and I'm Googling them, I'm rewatching them, and I know, Roger Corman films. I know old Looney Tunes. I know the theme song from the 1967 Spider-Man cartoon. And if people do not know that, if they have a vacuum around them, that's when you get North Korea. So I don't know what, if the government tries to close the country, yet again, I don't know what it will do with us. People who have tasted the absolute, informational anarchy. So there's my ramble for today. Half an hour. My God. I don't suppose anyone is still watching, but if you still are, I think next week is the last week of my giveaway. Many thanks to everyone who submitted their VRs. I still have 2 or 3 I haven't watched. Sorry about that. I'm going to catch up. Thanks a bunch to all who participated. You've all been great. So I'm signing off because my pipe is almost done, I think. I'll probably export it tomorrow, maybe. Upload it before the end of the weekend. So have a great weekend, everyone. Thanks a bunch for, sticking around and listening to me ramble. Thanks for dropping by, and I'll be back soon with another one of my videos. Goodbye. That's all, folks.